Now this, bang. Okay, so it's going, and then on YouTube, Facebook's officially going, and YouTube should start in a second, but it's not really important. I just have it there so I can make more content, but yeah, but it is started on Facebook, like now officially open, so we'll allow the people to walk in, but pretty much this is Live Fridays once again, episode 2. So I'm Kai Gardner. Here today we have Tracey Hughes. She runs the Bathurst Pet Salon here in Bathurst. If you watched last week, you would know what we have going on. So this is the second episode where we'll be discussing the animal industry as a whole, topics like business, ones like this, like grooming, and so much more. We're aiming to educate, learn, have fun, and yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. So before we get started as well, we did get verified for the stars. So if you want to, you can help donate to our shelter fund by just sending stars. I think it's like $1.49 for like 50 or something. So it just helps support us to do everything that we do. And there will be multiple segments. So there'll be the introductions, the Q&A learning corner, the inspiration and enlightenment type of thing, just talking about why we do it and animals as a whole. And then the game time and then a little outro. So yeah, Tracy, why don't you introduce yourself quickly?
Hi everyone, I'm Tracey Hughes. I am an owner, manager, and dog groomer of Bathurst Pet Salon, obviously based in Bathurst. And I have 6 dogs myself.
Yeah, I keep hearing about them, and I'm like, oh wow.
You'll probably hear them because all 6 of them are in the lounge room at the moment. I've got 2 Bichons sitting beside me. I've got a Japanese Spitz cross poodle. Well, she's just moved away. A border collie cross, and my German Shepherd and Malamute cross lab are playing at the moment right near my feet. So
I'm waiting
I've got
for
one
a
that's a bit of a chronic barker when she
yeah.
stops. I usually tell her to shut up and I sound like a fishmonger's wife. So hopefully she won't get started while we're doing this because she's a pain. Oh,
Technical difficulties. It's
yeah,
back
I
up and
thought I'd
running
lost
now.
you then.
Yeah, it quickly just died over this side. Just it does that a little bit sometimes at the start, but I think we're popping back up. Everything's still going all fine. But yeah, I'm waiting for mine to go off. If one random sound just goes and they'll be like, "Oh, must protect the house." I'm like, "No, no, you do not need to. You were stuck inside luxury. You don't need to bark."
Yeah. So I've been grooming for 8 years now. And what else would you like to know? What's the next question you'd like me to answer?
Yeah, so for anybody who was here last week, they'll remember the different segments we have. So I've got the questionnaires in kind of 4 different areas. So there's one I call motivation, inspiration. The next is the business. Then there's personal, and then there's personalized. So personal is more what I'll be asking everybody, and the personalized is for the guests themselves. So they'll be changing weekly. But the first one, you pretty much covered it there, but yeah, you dive deeper into it. So like, what do you do?
Okay, with dog grooming. Okay, as a self-employed dog groomer, it means I'm it. I'm the customer contact as far as the appointments are concerned. I am the dog groomer, so I wash, blow dry all the dogs that come in, and depending on what my customers want done. Most dogs that I do are clips, so they're all over body clips. Then I have also what's called a face, feet, and tail. So they'll come in for a bath, a blow dry, and I do around their face and their bottom areas. And always it includes their paw pads, as well as their nails and cleaning of the ears. Then I've got like larger dogs that require, even some small dogs require strip outs. They've got the long hair. The customer doesn't want their dogs actually clipped, so it's stripping out the excess hair. And of course, I clean up, and every 3 months, as a small business owner, we have to actually do what's called a business activity statement and lodge that to the taxation department, which, we have to pay our GST, 10% of whatever our incoming earnings are. So basically, when you're self employed, you pretty much do everything yourself.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's grooming is a very, very physical job. I got into this because obviously I love dogs. I love all animals, but predominantly dogs. In my life, I've had dogs, cats, and birds, but now I sort of like stay with the dog side of things.
There's something about them, isn't there? Something about them.
Oh, look, they really are our best friends. I love cats. I'll probably never have another cat. For most of my life, I had cats, but cats are pretty much independent. Um, you know, you have to, the cat wants you when it wants you, whereas dogs are, I mean, they can pick up your emotions
Mm,
and,
mm.
they're just always there. I must admit, I came to Bathurst in 2000. I didn't know anyone up here, and I was a prison officer. I had 2 cats, 2 dogs, and 2 cockatiels when I first got to Bathurst.
Jesus.
And I mean, it was a fairly lonely life with the shift work, and all of my friends and family were based here, there, and everywhere, but predominantly Sydney. And the shifts that I didn't see too many people, so my animals were my life. And that, like, long term led me to doing what I do, because everything I've done has always been for my dogs. I moved to Bathurst. I transferred to Bathurst. I had a Newfoundland back then, and it was too hot in Sydney for her. So I hate the cold. I feel the cold, but it was more about her. And I would like more people to be educated in that, if you're going to get a pet, they are for life. So
Oh
think
yeah.
about, when I get this dog or I get this cat, that what am I going to be doing for the next maybe 15, 20 years of my life? Because that's how
Mm.
long some can actually last for.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
And
the
I
little
just see
chow
too many
chows.
heartbreaking things that, I'm going to be homeless and I've got to rehome and everything else. And that's another thing to look at when you're renting as well, that how many, if I have to move on, where am I going to go? I've been pretty fortunate in my life. Like, I shouldn't say this out loud, but, I never told the real estate what I had. I moved into a unit, and that's when I got my first cat. And the reason I got a cat was I opened my cupboard one day and there was a mouse,
Yeah.
and I had cockroaches. I'm like, if I'm going to have to live with rodents, I'm getting a cat. And I also had 2 cockatiels in that unit, but it's about ensuring that, one, that they're, you've got them, that your neighbors aren't going to be bothered by them too much. So it's also about training and everything, and that you leave wherever you're living in the best state possible. And that enabled me to move on to the net, because I always had good references.
Yeah.
Um, or like, when I moved up to Bathurst, I had 2 dogs. I told them I had one. And then I had 2 cats and 2 cockatiels, but all they knew was that I had one dog. And again, I never got any complaints. And another thing too, I never leave my dogs in the yard. They're always inside when I'm not home, so that if they're barking, it's not annoying the neighbours at any given time. But mind you, I've got dogs here all day. I can have up to 18 dogs at any given time during the course of a day.
Yeah.
And I've
Wow.
got brilliant neighbours as well. So if you've got great neighbours, you get on really well with them. That's also a really good positive.
Yeah, I've been so lucky so far. Like
Yeah,
everywhere that I've been, they've been allowed, and then knew about both of them, and then so I don't have to try to hide it or anything. But don't mind me, like I would if I had to. Still, I'm not getting
yeah.
rid of them anytime soon. But I'll probably be sticking with the dogs. I don't know if anyone saw our reel that I made last night about I was like, all right, guys, today we're going to be discussing the most dangerous dog breeds. Coming in at number one, my mum's cat, and it just took everybody off guard. And I was like, yeah, yeah. But all of that pretty much covers the next question partly. It says the next one is, so why do you do it, and what do you hope to achieve with it? So that entire thing covered why you do it. You obviously are fascinated and love animals like I do, but what did you hope to achieve with it, with the grooming side of everything?
Um, uh, to achieve with it, look, really, it's all about all of my dogs have always been groomed.
It's very important.
Particularly the ones that needed clipping. I used to get them groomed every 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm.
Um, and it was a case of, I thought about it, doing it from my previous career. As I said, I was a prison officer, and I also do disability support part casually, and I've been doing that for 11 years. So where I got my dogs groomed, the girls had talked about, maybe one day selling their business. And I just made that decision. I rang them up one day and I said, "Are you still wanting to sell?" And it's like, "Yes." I was very blessed with buying this business because the two sisters that actually owned it. First of all, I went and did a dog grooming course down in Sydney, which was 28 days with a company called the Sydney Grooming Centre. They don't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
So they taught you your basic dog grooming skills. So it was hands-on with all the tools of the trade and everything else. So when I purchased the business, but all the equipment was actually there. And I was also extremely blessed that one of the sisters that owned the business had been grooming for 12 years. She stayed with me for another 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I learned a lot of skills off her, which, expanded on my knowledge as well. So I've just been really, really lucky with it. What I expected to get, I was going to make, I must admit, this was going to be a lifelong thing, but it's not easy. It's very, very physical, so when you're full on grooming every day, the girl I bought, the sister that stayed with me, she had carpal tunnel as a result of, 14 years of the constant scissoring and clipping. Dogs don't stand still. It's not like you go to your hairdresser and sit there while they do your trim and everything else. Dogs can be unpredictable, certainly not as unpredictable as cats. That's why I don't groom cats, because they'll jump up and scratch all of your face, and you probably have to be a cat whisperer. And given the environment, I used to groom cats when I first started. We did long cats that we'd done for a long time. But a bite from a cat, an $80 job cost me $60 in antibiotics.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you can get bad infections from cats. So there are groomers that do cats, but I think you've got to have proper training in grooming cats anyway. And also, when I've got dogs running around everywhere, it's not a great environment because they're easily spooked. Yeah, and I'm going to be the first point in contact. Jeez. So I get bitten by dogs all the time, and I have got a couple of aggressive dogs on the table that I still do. But I've been doing them for a long time, and I know their body language and when it's time to get my hand out of the way. And some that I actually do have to muzzle, and some that can get the muzzle off, so they take two of us to do. So it's really not an easy job. You do it for the love of it. And I've got so many like long-term I grieve when their owners' family lose them as much as they do, because 8 years, some they were probably about 5 or 6 when I started doing them. They get to 14, and I see the deterioration in them. It also breaks my heart when people lose their dogs, a lot earlier than they really, really should. And I've got some. Actually, I should say this one thing: in all my years of working, and I've made some great friends as becoming a dog groomer, and the people that I've met, they're my people. It's like you meet, they're like, and this is just a little bit, I remember when I come to Bathurst, and, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but a lot of country folk back then, dogs weren't really part of the family. Dogs were your working dogs. And I remember my Newfoundland, when I first moved here, she had to go to the vet a fair bit and have some cartrophin injections. And I'd actually get comments from the people I worked with. "Oh, what are you spending that? A bullet, 50 cents will solve that problem." That was the attitude. And I I actually went sick one day because I had a dog that needed, well, it was her that needed to be watched because she wasn't very well at all. And I remember the reaction I got from one of my friends from the jail saying, "Oh, you were the laughing stock of the jail because I went sick. They wouldn't give me carers leave, and then I got a couple of people on the QT saying to me, I would have done exactly what you did, but I wouldn't have told them. I would have just gone sick." So it was that sort of element that I found hard to deal with. But the more people that started coming up from Sydney, they were like me. Their dogs were part of their family. They weren't
Yeah.
to be thrown out in the backyard and here's your you know your food. So no, a lot of things
Jeez.
that I did actually led me into doing this in the end, and I love it. But I now know it's not something that I will be sustainable for the rest of my life for the physical side. You know what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean?
what people
So
oversee. People oversee
yeah,
that in the walking and the grooming. They're like, oh, it couldn't be too hard. And I'm like, no, like, trust me, you need to know a lot. Grooming's not just clipping. You need to know, as you said, the body language. You need to know a dog's mentality, the behavioral aspect. You need to know how to deal with them. Same with walking as well. Try walking a Newfoundlander or a German Shepherd and all that. That is horrible on the lead. It's like, no, we need to understand like all the little tidbits there just to be able to
mm,
actually perform efficiently.
yeah, for sure. And there's that other element too that it's educating people that don't get a dog that's got a poodle coat and think that it won't need grooming until it's like 12 months old. Particularly your large breed poodle crosses, they're a nightmare. They wait till they're 12 months old and decide to take them to a groomer. They're 35, 40 kilos. And, they're going to fight you in the bath because they hate water. They're usually matted to the skin so they can take a couple of hours, and they will fight you. And like for someone like me that, I'm 54 now, I'm pretty physically strong for a female, and again, that's not to put females down, but it's not easy. It's like you're going into a boxing match with some of them because they're not just going to sit there. It's like, no, I don't like what you're doing, and particularly when they're doing that, they'll pull away with their legs, and you know. Yeah, it's really, really not an easy job. So it's really about educating people to the minute you get that little puppy, you know, as soon as they've had all of their vaccinations, start just getting used to choose the groomer that you think you're going to get on with, um, because it's not just about the dog loving the groomer. Like I've got people that don't like me. I've got people that have left me. But and then I end up with other groomers customers because of something that groomer did to upset them, and it's just all about matching your personality with your customer and the dog's liking you. Yeah, so
And
I've
we've
got
got
some
it
dogs
coming
that
up
you.
soon. We've got it coming up soon, everybody, about what to do to desensitize dogs. So if you do stay tuned, you're going to learn, and we're going to go in detail on that specific part because that is going to be one of the most important takeaways from this whole video
Yeah,
specifically. I'm going to have to timestamp it, and I'm going to be heavily advertising that for the next week.
yeah. No, like I think if most people take their dogs when they first get them to puppy preschool, I'm assuming puppy preschool drums that into to people. And even if, you've got a dog that you're going to decide, just say a German Shepherd, for example, or a Husky, or any dog that's going to be a large dog, start taking, and you want to get them professionally groomed, start taking them to a groomer while they're a puppy, because again, it's getting them used to. I've got an American Staffy, and I absolutely adore her. She started coming to me when she was fully grown at 6 months old, and after about the third, I was ready to say to her owner, "Please do not bring her back." She was an absolute nightmare. Fully grown, strong as. Now that dog, if she could bath herself, she would. She now, like, she comes here, she walks straight into the, she sits there while I do her, and then she jumps up on my drying table, and I sit there, and she virtually sits on my lap. as I'm drying her. And that's a success story. But when I get phone calls now with someone that's got an Amstaff that's 9 years old, that's never been professionally groomed, I won't take it on. I'm not physically strong enough now to do that. Plus, they haven't been socialized with other dogs. And the way that I mean, as I said, I could have 18 dogs in my groom room. So I can't put that at risk. I did many, many years ago when I wanted the work. I remember doing an American Staffy that was a rescue. And I've got this really, really thick chain that I can put them up and hook them onto a table where they can't go off
Oh,
the
I've seen
side.
those.
Yeah, but he broke that.
Oh,
And then he went charging off there. Thank goodness. He had scars on him. He'd been used for dog fighting.
oh,
And it was an elderly couple that had taken him on. They actually had to surrender him again. And I do believe he did get euthanized. So it's
oh.
just really, really heartbreaking I mean, he's a product of the environment that he was brought up in, which is
Unfortunately,
incredibly
yeah.
sad. But I was very, very lucky that I got to him in time before he got to the other dogs. So that could have
Jeez.
been an absolute tragedy. I mean, the last thing I want to do is contact a family of a dog that I've been grooming to tell them that it's been savaged. So
Jeez.
I have to
Yeah.
vet what comes um, in to me as far as whether they're socialized and the first thing I say is I ask them all the questions I need to, and it's like, I'm not the groomer for you. I think you need to get a mobile groomer,
Yeah.
that's going to
Wow.
come to you, that's a quick turnaround, that's not around the other dogs. And so that's another thing we have to do as groomers as well, whether we're the fit for the dog.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
this is what I mean. There's so many little tidbits to it. It's
Mm.
so much. And that's why I like doing these live Fridays too, because I sincerely doubt you'll probably be the last groomer I get on here. And it'll give a lot
Oh
of,
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it'll give a lot of aspect as to like who to do this and who to do that and build contacts. And we can all just make a small, tight knit community.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there are some dogs. Oh, actually, probably not. I'd probably walk them all because of it being like how heavily trained and how young I am. So like all of them aren't really a mission. But when it gets to, I mean, something like that as well, because even with my cavoodle, I'm still kind of desensitizing him to it because he hates it around his legs, and I have nipped him once, and so it's like, yeah, you got to get the ones who would know how to deal with that. There's
Mm.
just so many little things, and that's one big thing my mum said when I first ever got my staffy. It was completely off topic here too, but it was just, yeah, train him well because, well, we never had a big dog in the house. She just said train him well. So I pretty much, that's how I ended up getting so into dogs and
Mm.
understanding everything, is because she wouldn't let me have him if I didn't have him just an angel pretty much. And now
Yeah.
he's so cool. Yeah, spent so long on the lounge there with like the de-shedding brush, just patting him with it on when he was younger, and then giving the actual brush because I mean the staffies don't need all the like de-shedding stuff and the big like brushing and all of that like as much. I mean, he's got the kelpie coat, so it's like
Yeah.
the real. I just de-shed pretty much with the glove and brush and all of that. But yeah, I pretty much just spent the whole time just sitting there patting him with that, and then he'd look and be like, "Oh, cool," and then my
Yeah.
hand, and then training him, and but yeah, I had to learn everything there. But that's what it's going to be so good about this.
Yeah.
We'll move on quickly to the business side of everything. What is the overview of your business model? Talking about all the everything we just went through there. So, do you have like basically, yeah, the overview of it? So, how do you run it? What do you kind of how do you take dogs? How do you decide? What is the business model for the grooming business there?
Look, I mean, I'm not overly. I'm fairly basic when I sort of continued on what the girls that I purchased the business off did. So mine's fairly easy. I don't have a computer set up for all of my stuff. I still work on a 12-month diary. So, and I sort of, they had other staff when I first bought the business that they actually had their parents assisting. So, her mum would take the phone calls. She'd also, we had index cards that we'd log each groom and, what we did with them. And but I've just found me being like single operated with the diary, my virtually they know it's like, oh, what you did last time, or pretty much they get exactly the same. And because I've been doing most of the dogs for years, I know exactly what they have. So I pretty much run on. I've got a mobile number or I've got a business page. So they either text message me, ring me, uh, send messages through my business page that they want Fluffy done. When's the next available? Da da da. They pretty much work with me. Most of my customers, I like some work. So and some would knock off at 2:30. So I know they have their two dogs done by 2:30, or a lot of them are call when readies. So I just call them when they're finished. I've got a couple of dogs that actually get sedated before they come here, and it's not
Oh,
so
wow.
much. Yeah. Because of that high anxiety, it doesn't work on aggressive dogs.
Yeah.
No amount of tablet you can give to an aggressive dog will stop them from being aggressive, but it's more about highly anxious dogs. It calms them. It's like they're stoned.
Yeah,
So they're still
yeah.
conscious, but they're, hey, man, I'm real laid back now. So I've got a couple of them. So I pretty much do them on a quicker turnaround before the part of the tablet has worn off them. And then I have ones with medical issues. I've got a number of them that have seizures. So
Oh, wow.
it's another good thing for anyone becoming groomer. I highly recommend that you do basic first aid training. There is a first aid training course specifically for animals, because that's a good thing to have. Because I won't deny, like there's occasions we do cut because again the dogs. I mean, you cut Benji.
Exactly. I was about to
So
say, yeah.
no matter how long you've been grooming for, you're gonna get that nick every now and then because the dog's pulled away while you've got sharp items. So you're putting sharp utensils or tools around their faces, around. So it's being super cautious around certain areas, but the reality is, sometimes you might nick their leg because they pull away as you're, going down their
That's
leg.
exactly what happened with Benjamin.
Yeah. So I get it. But I'm very ethical. If the dog needs stitches, I will pay for
Yeah,
the
100%.
veterinaries, and but in some cases it can be the dog's fault, but we still accept liability for it. And it's not something you want to, you'd be paying for vet bills left, right, and center, and you'd never make any money out of it if that was the case. So,
Yeah, the same thing
yeah,
happened with me with walking as well, surprisingly, because we're outdoors. But it's not trying to be rude, but around Kelso, there is a lot of broken glass. It is phenomenally scary. So like I
don't
got
be
to like
rude.
stare at the
I live in
ground.
Kelso.
Yeah, there's just so much
There's
shards
been
of broken
syringes in the
glass.
gutter.
Yeah, and
So
the husky accidentally cut his paw pad, but yeah, like it wasn't bad, which was good, but yeah, I have to do the same thing with just literally just walking, but at least it's
yeah,
like not like kind of holding sharp objects. It's just that people don't know how to use a bin,
yeah.
but you still just got to look out and be aware and be nice and, as you said, ethical there. So
Yeah. But I mean, that's another thing with business model. You need to have business insurance. You need to
yeah,
be covered for public liability, as well as, I mean, you could end up getting a dog in here that just say it jumps off the table, it's done its cruciate in, and the next minute you're like, oh, you need to have that insurance because you may need to. I've been very, very fortunate. But and this is another thing you've got to be conscious of is dogs escaping. Now I thought I had an escape proof yard because I've got 6 dogs. I've done home boarding on the side and everything else. But and I've been so lucky on 2 occasions. I had a shepherd, their owner dropped him off far too early. I was still in the shower, supposed to be an 8 o'clock drop off. He got here at 20 past 7. So it was a German Shepherd that had been here several times, and I've groomed her for a long, long time before I moved the business to home. And I said to him, "Oh, she wouldn't jump a fence, would she?" And he's like, "Oh, no, not at all." So I put her out in my yard, and I get out into my yard after I've finished my shower and dressed, and no sign of the German Shepherd. And I've gone into
Jeez.
panic stations. I've rung her owner. It's like, oh my God, she's got out. I don't know where she's gone, because there could have been 4 directions she went into, the way that my house is set up. So I jumped into my van and I'm driving around Kelso, and I'm stopping everyone I saw. Have you seen a German Shepherd running around? Like, I'm nearly in tears. My heart's nearly stopped. Anyway, it got to about 8 o'clock, and her owners rang me and said, we found her. And I said, where is she? And would you believe, I'm near Kibera Boulevard. So if you can imagine, we're in Kelso. And she was on the other side, out near the showgrounds, running along the highway there. So she jumped my yard, and she'd obviously gone down Stevens Lane and across Denison Bridge. And so that, thank God, he brought her straight back, and he said, yeah, oh, that's where she's got out. She's got over there. And she jumps on the back of his truck. Now, their fences are lower than mine, but she's gone into this panic. So she had the capability of doing it.
See, they
And then
can't
I had
until
another
they
one.
can. They can't until they can, yeah.
Yeah. So never again was she left out. Because I normally leave her in my pergola, but I'll just leave her out in the yard while I'm in the shower. And then I had he was a wolfhound cross, and he was only out in the yard, because he used to pee everywhere. So I left him out in the yard till I was going to put him in the bath. 10 minutes, and I've gone out to get him, like, Teddy, oh my God, where are you? Rang his owner, and he was really oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, he's an escape artist. He can get over anything. And I'm like, right. Anyway, thank goodness. I rang the rangers. I rang, it's like, if you see a wolfhound cross, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was driving around for about 10, 15 minutes, and the owner rang me up, and they said, oh, he's been found. And I said, where is he? 2 doors down from me. They saw him walking around, so he must have gone up the top of my cul-de-sac, and I haven't seen him. And they've just grabbed him and rang the owner. So 2 great stories that I'm proud, but not proud that they got out. But these are things you need to be conscious of, because I do know of a situation where a dog got out from a groomer over in Oberon, and they live near, it was a German Shepherd cross husky. 6 months on, they still hadn't found it, and the groomer didn't seem to give a rodent's rectum.
Oh,
so,
this just went really downhill.
I'll be honest. I don't think I wouldn't have got through that if something had happened to the dog that was in my care. I couldn't have got through it. So that's another thing. It can be a very emotional job too, because you've got the responsibility of someone else's precious fur baby. And like me having mine, I would always want to know that my dogs were in the care of someone that cared and was as responsible as I am. Do you know what I mean? So that's another thing. You're taking on someone else. So it's these little things. I'm telling you these stories to take on board if you want to be a groomer. These are things you need to know. And like when we had the shop, we used to lock the front door, and people used to get annoyed by it. And it's like, because the reality is, some customers, I see it here, they will hold my front door open. I have to say to them, can you shut the door? Because they can jump over that thing.
I've seen dogs open doors, let alone
I had a customer. I had my German Shepherd in the front of my shop. She opened the door and let her out the front in Russell Street, where the Fancy Flea is. That used to be my shop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She not even just let the dog get out. I've gone charging out after her, and she has run down the laneway towards the RSL, playing "Catch Me, Mum, Catch Me," silly buggers. And then she's turned around. She's got no road sense whatsoever. She has run onto. There was a truck coming. Thank God I got her. I ran out onto the road as well. The truck probably would have kept going if I wasn't out there. Do you know what I mean? So, and there's collars slipping. That's another thing you got to be conscious of. Dogs will pull away, their collar slips, and the next minute Fluffy's running down the street. So be fit.
I need to add a segment into these new videos now after hearing this,
Yeah.
called like funniest stories or most eye-opening
Oh, they
stories, or
weren't
like,
funny at the time.
yeah, like have a funny story section, most eye-opening story section. Like
Yeah.
I should start adding these in because that, oh, that'd actually be mind-blowing because that's intriguing as well as educational and
Yeah.
one of those we can laugh on it now.
Yeah.
No, not then, but
Yeah.
now. But yeah, jeez.
Yeah, I highly recommend go and work in an office. The only dangers you've got there is getting a paper cut, or if you're
Unless you're
wearing a
ready.
tie when you're shredding things, you could
Oh,
get your
like in all
tie
the
put in the
movies.
shredder. Yeah.
Jeez. Well, let's put
So
we'll make it a bit more lighthearted now quickly.
yeah.
What's your greatest achievement since starting?
Oh gosh, I don't. My greatest achievement. That's not an easy one to
It's not.
answer.
It's not. It's
I
yeah.
just think particularly as my greatest achievement is, I guess it's seeing when customers are really not all customers are going to be happy with your work.
Oh no.
That's what it comes down to. Um, but I think it's having that my regulars that have also become, I know a lot about their lives. I grieve with them, as I said. I get customers ringing me up in tears when, Fluffy's in the vets and they're worried what's going to happen to Fluffy. And I've actually had one that rang me up in December, in tears. I think I'm going to have to get her put to sleep. And it's like, you'll know when it's time. I groomed her last week. So,
Yeah.
we're into July now, and 7 months on to convince her it's not time for her. But yeah, I think it's just been rewarding, and as I said, that these are my people. The majority of my
Hmm.
customers are my people because they love dogs as much as me. But there's also an element that I get some dogs in here that are in such horrific conditions, that on one occasion in particular, the second time I groomed that dog, I said to him, "If I will never groom like this again, and if I see like this again, I'll be reporting you to the RSPCA."
Yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
and like they'll come in with, they're matted to the skin, but it's not so much that their fringe is down to here. You lift their fringe, and they've got the built up. I call it ice
Oh
knot. It is
yeah.
that hard that by the time I pick it off, they've got bleeding sores under here. It's just, again, I say to them, please don't ever let them get like this again. I won't groom them, and and I'll go through the reasons it's cruel. If they do bring them back to me like that again, then I go the RSPCA talk.
God, I don't even blame
So
you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, for 65 for a clip bath and groom, to some people it's not affordable. I'm cheap in comparison to other places, but and I do charge extra now if they get to that state because it's chiseling through their coat. It takes a lot longer. It's painful for them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so it's yeah, the rewarding side, I guess, to a degree, is knowing that this poor dog that has suffered for, and often under the matting they've got grass seeds, they've got infected grass seeds, which can kill them because it travels to their heart.
Yeah.
They have sticks that are sticking into under the matting into their skin, so they've got piercing under there. And
Mm.
often they've got infected boils, and it's just, yeah, when you see that, that's not but it's rewarding when you get it up to see this dog coming in and they're like, they can hardly move, and then they're running around like, oh, I feel free,
Yeah.
you know.
I can feel the wind on my face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like they're a puppy again. But yeah, so next question, because I'm looking at the time and
Yeah.
I ramble.
No, it's perfectly all right. I've set
Yeah.
basically the standard at about an hour, but if it goes longer, if it goes less, that's what it's here for. It's just set it at that hour, kind of give or take. So I'm not really
Yeah.
too phased. It's nothing bad's going to happen if it goes over. As long as I can get out of here to go still watch The Boys. I need to watch that. The last episode came out today, and it's one of my favorite TV shows.
Oh, okay. I'm on season 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's great. I'm up to season 3. I'm up to date. As long as I can watch it before the weekend, I'm fine.
No worries at all. I'm like that with Animal Kingdom.
I'm not up to date with that one. It was mine and my mum's show, and then I moved out of home, and now I feel like I'm cheating on her if I watch it. But,
I get
so
that.
you're quite knowledgeable on all the grooming side of things, and even the little tidbits we discussed before. But is there anything else away from all this that you do? Like, just this is more of a just what is Tracey? What does Tracey do? So, away from this, do you have hobbies? Do you have passions? Anything else away from it all?
Okay. So my winter month, I do disability support on the side, which I really enjoy. I've been doing that for 11 years. That's my backup winter plan. Yeah, as I have a partner, he's a awardsman and he also does security work on the side. We've been going out for 2.5 years now. He has a dog. He's got a Kelpie Cross that my stepson. As I said, have 6 dogs, and I think I've told you their breeds. I've got 2 Bichons. I've got a Japanese Spitz Cross Poodle, a German Shepherd, a Labrador Cross Malamute, and I have a Border Collie Cross. So they are a very big part of my life. They're my kids. I don't have human children. So I mean, I walk them regularly. And well, I'll be honest, I don't walk my little dogs. I fear for walking my little dogs
Oh,
because of all the stuff that goes on.
mm, mm.
I'm often on Bathurst, our town, like when making comments about anything to do with dogs. And I walk my 3 girls. I have a running belt. They're attached to me. I got a negative comment about that,
Yeah, I was there with
yeah,
you. I was there with you.
yeah. But my girls, my fear is not having them attached to me. I've tripped over numerous times, and my worry is I'm going to trip over and be unconscious. To
Mm,
which, I think they'll stay with me. They certainly stay with me when I'm attached to my running belt. They don't try to drag me anywhere. But it's like, if I lose hold of their lead, and particularly my German Shepherd decides to have a trot across the road with no road sense, or even,
mm,
it's that fear. And what a lot of people aren't aware of is if a dog goes running towards someone and they have a fear of dogs,
oh,
automatically they feel threatened, and dogs can pick up when people are scared of them.
yes.
And even if they jump on them in friendliness, that person's fearful. That's a $1,300 fine. $1,300 for your friendly Labrador that goes running over to Mr. Smith, that's terrified of dogs because he got bitten by a dachshund when he was a kid, but wants to go for a walk in times where dogs are supposed to be on leads in areas like the river. And that's another thing, the amount of people that still let their dogs off leash after they're supposed to be tethered. There's a certain time you can walk them off leash, and I think it's before 8 o'clock down the river, and it's after 5 o'clock of a night time. All those other times they're to be tethered. So, Mr. Smith with his granddaughter, and this happened one day, and I pulled someone up. I actually said to someone, your dog needs to be on a lead. It's not off leash hours. And they give me a look. And this fella said to me, thank you so much. I had a dog that nearly attacked my granddaughter last week, and I walked them in these times for this reason.
Yeah.
So, it's reminding people, sometimes you'll get, I got from one guy, he had a golden retriever, and the golden retriever kept running to my friendly dog, but I kept saying, oh, you need to call your dog back. And I said to him, I said, your dog should be on a lead at this time. Dog should be running free. And it's like, oh, for
I don't
goodness
know if
sake.
that is. Wait, what breed did you say it was?
A golden retriever.
No, that wasn't him. There was a guy who used to live up near my old house, and he said that exact same phrase to me. And he's like, "They should be free. You should have your dogs off." And I'm like, "No." Like it's yeah, I mean like they should be free, but not in this sense. Like dogs deserve to be free, not tethered to a chain, not living in a
Yeah.
cage, all that stuff.
Oh, exactly.
But
Yeah.
like when you're out and about, Like, my dogs are happy. My dogs are fine. They wouldn't hurt a fly, but I'm still
Yeah.
going to put them on a leash because somebody else's dog. That's a whole other topic, and we could go even further into this one, Trace, 100%.
I could.
Because
I'll tell you what about my three dogs. They're socialized. They'll often get
mm,
dogs running up to them. And my German Shepherd, I've said, she got attacked by a Great Dane Cross. She stood there. I'm the one kicking this dog off her. And one thing I'll give you, another thing you need to learn when you're walking your dog is if a dog's coming towards you, it's your tone of voice. And I'm going to sound funny now, but I learned this through Barkbuster. And because I had a dog that had fear aggression on a lead, and the amount of time I always walked her in an area which was not lead free. And if dogs come running towards her, I used to yell out to the owner, call your dog back. And I get, my dog's friendly. It's like, yeah, but mine's not. And the next minute, because Elsa would go them, she was a whippet cross, they'd start fighting her back. And I'm the one pulling their dog off my dog.
yeah.
So dogs are going to react as to how another dog responds to them. So what I was going to say was going back to Barkbusters, one thing they told me, and this is one thing, you never show fear to a dog running towards you. And it's like, go on!
Exactly. Yeah.
And my dogs have just looked at me now like, fuck. Well, oh, sorry, excuse
no,
me.
it's all right. It doesn't matter on here.
Often they will stop.
Yeah.
And they'll look at you and go on, you go.
Because they pick up on the
safety side of me. If I didn't have my dogs with me, I'd be going after that dog to try and secure it for its safety and anyone else's safety, because I don't fear dog. Mind you, there are dogs I know I'll never go near because I won't have a chance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell by their body language. And again, if you show confidence to what you've got more of a chance. So it's getting that tone in your voice as a dog's coming towards you.
Well, we've had that. I've had that exact same thing. And to this day, I don't know how this breed was illegal, because this thing, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that episode of Family Guy where Brian's like, oh, you won, you put your pig in the pig competition, Stewie. And Stewie's like, yes, it's a genetically modified pig. And the pig was like 9 foot tall, muscly. It's like, oink. And this dog, that it was like a Mastiff, Staffy, this and that. Like, it was ginormous, biggest dog I've ever seen in my life. And it came sprinting directly at my Staffy. And him being the friendly little lovable boy he is, he just stood there tail wagging, got absolutely taken down. So I've had to come in, and the other dog who was with that dog is like running over to get us. And then I've done the same, like, oh, like, oh, get out, go away, like yelling at it. The owner's a older lady, and she's just couldn't hold it. I'm like, that's a whole other question. Like, why? And then my little lab cross, he picks up on the aggression and all that, which falls into it. So he won't attack. He is too friendly. He doesn't like people and dogs because he's a Labradoodle cross cattle dog. So he's like, I like Kai. He's not going to yell at you. He'll just be like, just please don't come near me. I just like Kai. But this dog's coming to attack his brother, and he just gets his back up, and he looks like a wolf, and he's like, no, and he's trying to distract it, grab its leg, grab its body to get him off my Staffy. He luckily did not hurt my Staffy. I got around his neck just in time. But then the yelling at it, it looked back at me before it bit my Staffy. My Staffy's rolled away, and he's ran off like, I want friends. And he's run down to the neighbour's house, who he is friends with, and hid in their yard. My lab's sitting there barking at it. I'm like, got it in a headlock, hand on top of its head, and I'm like, this is the first time I'd ever experienced a dog attack as well. This was years ago, before Kai was comics. And like, I've hand down on its head, choking it out, because you have to cut off circulation to the brain if it's, especially when it's a dog that's like 140 kilos. And I was only like, I think I was only like 15 at the time. So yeah, but every single instance of what you just said, just you yelled at it. The other dog never came near us, even though it wanted to kill us. It was like, no, he's yelling, this dog's barking. My dog picked up on everything was going to absolute shit, and he's like, nah, don't hurt my brother. My Staffy's just, he's not scary at all. He looks it, but he's like, nah, he's like a hippie, and he just ran away. He's like, no, I'm not even getting angry. It was like a whole ordeal. And if you're hearing two stories that sound similar, that just definitely got to open some eyes, for sure. It's bloody scary. It is. Why can't we just?
It happens all the time, and that's what I'm like. I'm trying to get. even though, like, with my 3 girls, as I said, they're socialized, but
Mm.
having a German Shepherd, and she is the biggest sook. She is an absolute sweetheart, but German Shepherds have got one of the most powerful bites in the world,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
could easily rip anything apart. So if she's just wandering along, moseying along, and she has, say, little Jack Russell, and often it can be the small dogs that start
Yeah.
it, but they
Yeah.
can't finish it.
Ex-
So little Jack Russell comes up and starts biting at her ankles, and she's, oh, go away, piss off, you know. And it's like, oh, for
Eventually.
fuck's sake, and just grabs it by its neck and shakes it to death.
Yeah.
And
Eventually they
that's
can.
absolutely a or rips its ear off, or and she's just minding her own business. She's tethered on a lead, and this dog, and it's like she's got the capability. Little Jack Russell might just give her a little nip, but it's like, I've had enough of you. I'm going
Yeah.
to finish you.
Yeah.
And I'm conscious of that. I don't have, my dogs are left inside when I'm not here, but
Mm.
I separate the Malamute and the Cross and the German Shepherd onto another side of my house, because my 4.5 kilo Bichon is the alpha in my house. And
My
she
Maltese schnauzer.
will, when they come out, she goes, and they look at her, it's like, if mum wasn't here, yes, you wouldn't be here either. So, and it's so being conscious of what their capabilities are. And another thing too is, like, they run around madly, and they're not, half the time they will just walk on top of the little ones. So you've got a 37-kilo German Shepherd that walks over the top of a 4.5-kilo Bichon. So, there's injuries that could actually occur as a result of that. They're just not conscious of what their strength is and the difference in their sizes. I've got 9% battery left here, so I'm just I didn't think it'd go through that quickly.
No, that's all right. That's exactly what Rocco said
So
as well.
I mean, that's why, like, I'm a great believer in responsible pet ownership, and the same with, and I know this is going to cause an accident, the amount of lost cats that I see. And it's like, your cat's going to travel, cats can travel kilometers. There's so many dangers out there. They dart. I hit a cat in Lambert Street many, many years ago because I was driving along, I was doing the speed limit. This cat has run out and hit my back tire, and I've slammed down on the brakes, and then a ginger cat came over and was sniffing her. She lifted her head up, and then her head went down. The ginger cat ran off. I rushed her to the vets, and she had blood running out of her. It traumatized me. And she had passed away. And then in the afternoon, one of the vet nurses rang me up and said, Tracey, the owners want to talk to you. This is their number. And I'm like, oh God, they're going to abuse me. And I rang them. And you know what they said to me? Thank you so much for not just leaving her on the road, getting her to the vets. We've got her body. We're going to bury it now. And I said about the ginger cat, did it belong to them? And they said, oh no, that's next door's cat. It's always bashing her up.
Oh,
And I'm
Jesus.
like,
Well, there's a new law
that's
coming.
why she ran across. She was getting away from this ginger cat as I'm driving, innocently driving. I'm always looking ahead of me, even like when I drive country roads. Is there a roo? Is there something that's going to come hopping out or running across the road? I don't want to hit it. I don't want to have an animal that's, it's got something broken that I've got to finish it off, And so I try to be as responsible as I can as a motorist on the road. But, cats will just dart out from anywhere, and even when I'm driving home of a night time, again, I'm looking on either side of the road. Is there a cat on the side of the road, or even a dog that's going to run across the road? So in a 60k zone, I'll drive 40 kilometres of a night time, because that's a high risk of, I don't want to hit anyone's pet. But, and I had cats. They were always indoor cats. When my parents used to let our cats out, and we lost one twice, and it was always in next door's garage. But, she'd climb up a tree and she couldn't get back down. So it's all these things, and particularly around here in the summer months, you've got high risk of them getting bitten by snake bites, or, and just getting down drains. Anything could happen with them getting down a drain. You see so many cats coming out of a drain. And I think, really, again, it's about responsibility of being a pet owner, that if you can get your yard cat secured to stop them from getting out. Yeah, then they can get out and have the sun, or and all that sort of stuff. And
Well,
again, I'm not
I'll
into
cut you off
caging
there.
animals.
There's a
Sorry.
new law coming, apparently October the 1st, which means there's going to be a cat curfew. Apparently that's coming October the 1st. It hasn't been passed in the WA, and it's a complete ban of cats being outside in
Yeah,
Canberra. But the WA, it hasn't passed yet, but it is apparently going to be coming into effect around here October the
yeah,
1st.
yeah. And again, that's going to create arguments
Oh,
because you're going to
yeah.
get all that, oh, I can't do that and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so I mean, we could banter. And I'm looking, I've got 4% battery left, Kai.
That's all right. We'll quickly jump to the
So if I
game
can cut
time,
out.
and we'll just smash out the game time quickly, and then it'll probably maybe end, maybe not. But we'll just do that, and then we'll leave that at the end there, because if your phone does die, at least we went off on a bit more of a happier note than,
Oh, yeah.
dead cats and escaped
We could talk
animals.
about that for hours because you and
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, I mean,
Yeah,
we do love their family, and we
exactly.
want to see them be safe and not put them in harm's way, as well as being, conscious that, again, we could get a nasty fine because they've got out and done
Yeah.
something that, you wouldn't expect them to do.
Well, the cat fine for the cat curfew, they're trying to
Two
indict.
percent
Yeah. Oh, $1,600 fine, apparently.
Wow.
But
Wow.
anywho, so the game time before we quickly end, I'm going to name some dogs, and I want you to explain how you would groom these specific dogs. So number one, I'm going to start with how would you groom a husky efficiently?
Okay, a husky, they're quite big jobs, particularly they should
Mm.
be stripped out every few months. So, but if you brought one in that hadn't been stripped out for a couple of hours, they're a nightmare to wash because they're trying to jump out of the bath. So you've got one hand holding them in. Anyway, the amount of shampoo that you go through, and it can take a couple of hours of drying, and really quickly you get people. I always get, how much is it to give my dog a groom? And you ask them, oh, I pay less than that than my hairdresser. So they are big jobs.
Mm.
I haven't charged enough over the years. When I look at the comparison, I follow a groomers page now. A lot of groomers charge by the hour, and they might charge $80 an hour. So if that husky takes them 3 hours, there's $106, $240 that they've paid for. I usually charge around about the $100 mark. I'm not doing them anymore, I'll be honest, because physically I can't. I do a lot of large dogs that I've been doing for years. But because they're used to my routine, and the owners have done the right thing and had them regularly groomed. I did get a phone call one day for one wanting their husky, 3.5 years old, never been professionally groomed done. It's like, I'm sorry, my shoulders can't cope with that. Find someone younger and fitter.
Jeez.
um, but again, the time consuming in it. I had an argument with someone one day with a Malamute. She, from go to woe, took me 3.5 hours. And when I said to her, I can't sustain $80 for that groom, she argued with me, and then she admitted to me she used to pay $180 to get him done. So, you're lucky when you get groomers like me that don't charge really what we should at the end of the day. Yeah,
Jeez.
and when you do it long term, you start to realize, you've got to start charging for your worth, for the value. And then people narc up when it's all of a sudden, it's not sustainable for me. Sorry, you might have to find someone else. Good luck. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's a case of, with husky, you need a rake, you need the proper tools to through their coats. And you could get a garbage bag full of hair from them, and then the amount of cleanup afterwards. And that's what people don't get. It's not just about them standing on the table and having a quick blow dry and like you
Mm.
would in a hairdresser's. So there's a lot of work
That's why I
involved in
thought
it.
I'd
I've
ask for
got
the
1%.
husky.
Yeah.
Yeah, quickly. Next one, King Charles Cavalier.
You've got face, feet, and tails on them, and again, usually they're usually quite an easy dog to groom, so long as that they're done regularly. But most people get them clipped, particularly in some areas. And if you read up on grooming, never ever clip a King Charles. you've got to do what's best for their comfort and the area that you live in, you know. So if you're not brushing them regularly, a lot of them get hot in the summer months. So to clip them off, it's a lot cooler. They get burrs in their coats and a lot of things stuck to them, and even around their hygiene areas, you know, that they can actually where they urinate from, the males, around their PP, it goes as hard as anything, you know, and often they'll get burrs and everything. So you can imagine how uncomfortable if around your PP, you know, you had burrs and hair that was as hard as all, you know what, and trying to pee through that. It's not nice. And also too, can you imagine, you know, if you had a hairy bum and your poop started to stick to it and you didn't wipe it off every day? You know, I often lift up tails and they've got a week-old crap sticking to it.
It's
You know,
hard to explain, but it makes sense.
yeah, I don't charge for that. Other groomers charge hygiene thing. They'll charge $30 if they've got to get a dog's shit off their ass when they bring it in, right?
Jeez.
Because you've got to disinfect all of your tools and everything else. It gets into your blades, so you've got to sit there and clean your blades out. So it's all these sort of things that, you know, I'm like Just Cuts of the grooming world. I'm the barber of the grooming world. You take it to other, and they'll add up. They'll add on all these other costs, you know. But you've got to be competitive, and the prices that are in Bathurst. If you lived on the coast, or Pets on the Point, which do magnificent groups, what I charge $65 for, because fusion, so it's a lot of, you know, scissoring all over. $160, you know, a scissoring of a chow $350. So, you know, I think a lot of people come to someone like me and they'll give me a photo that someone like Pets on the Point have done. So, you know, mate, I don't do that. I'm not a pet stylist. I'm a barber of the dog grooming world, you know.
Jeez.
So
All right.
I've got 1% left.
So border collie.
And I will, not that I want to lose business. The best groom Bathurst would be Amanda at the. She's got
might
beautiful
have to message her.
Sorry?
Yeah, might have to message her and get her on in the future.
Yeah. So she's more of a pet stylist, but she charges a lot more than me. And also you've got it when I've got to pay $100 for a poodle. She has a shop. She's got commercial bills to pay as well. So that's what another thing people have got to look at. I've got my mother that's 81 years old that blows dry the dogs for me, God bless her. She volunteers to do that. She enjoys doing that. It's a cost I don't have to pay. So, you know, as a business owner, if you've got staff on that you've got to pay workers' compensation for them and get insurance for them as well. And that's the whole thing. You know, if you're going to be a self-employed dog groomer, you can keep your costs down. And then if another like mine that volunteers, that's what means I can probably put 2 dogs on for the day.
That's awesome.
I'm very, very lucky. God love her. She enjoys it. So she comes in. I put Fluffy in the cage for her. She sits there and tries them for me. And the drying time, like we did a lab today. That drying time can be up to 45 minutes an hour. And that's the staffy that I do, my AM staff that I absolutely adore, little Lily that comes in every 3 weeks. She's a 45-minute turnaround. And as I said, if she could actually lather herself up, she would. If she could dry herself. Even when I do her nails, she puts a paw up for me while I do them. And that took a lot, that wasn't like that the first few times that I groomed her. And she's just beautiful. She's happy to come in, but also happy to go home, Once I've finished her, she's like, where's Mom? I'm going to go home. And she kisses me as I do her, she's just beautiful. So, please, whenever you get a dog, regardless of what, for your own, you might be the one bathing them. Start doing it when they're a puppy. Get them used to water. Get them used to being lathered up. Get them used to having their paws held and because you got to do their nails. They're going to pull away. So, and the list goes on. Just get them used to any dog that you've got. Basic grooming,
Yes.
So
yes,
Yeah.
Specifically, if you have
I've
a
got
larger
1%
one.
left, Kai, so I might cut out soon. Another question
Yeah,
before
no,
I
that's
go
all
off
right.
completely.
Quickly, a border collie.
Yeah. I've got some border collies that get clipped and others that need stripping out. So
How would you
again,
do one
it's
of
having.
those?
You want to get one of those?
No, how would you do one of those? How would you do a border collie properly?
For a strip out, yeah, the same bath, dry, blow dry, and there's depending on how bad their coat is. Some actually need shaving in areas because they've let them get matted to the skin. I often say let's just clip them off all over and start with a fresh canvas. And you need to start, regularly brushing and combing them out if you want that beautiful fluffy coat. But a lot of them still need crutching done. So they get hairy paw pads. So they need them clipped because they'll slip on tiles and, around their hygiene areas need to get done again. Under their arms, they often get knotty and they can get like burrs in that. So again, it depends on whether they want to strip out, bath and groom, or they want. I used to do a border collie every 3 weeks, and she needed to have I don't recommend that they get bathed any more than once a month because it strips out the oil in their coat. But again, it's up to what the owners want, So often they complain about the smell. The smell often comes from their ears. A lot of dogs with the thicker ears can get a thing called ear canker.
The phone died. So we're probably going to end up having to leave this one here. We had a couple more questions, but we got way more in topic on a lot of the discussions we were wanting to talk about. So I pretty much sent this one as a free-for-all improvisation. Improvisation. That's the word I'm looking for. And we just went thoroughly and discussed every little thing there in meticulous detail. So we obviously... One, two... Well, we only missed 2 of the questions that I have set down as default. And I had a couple more dogs that I would have liked to talk to her about and how to do them properly and exactly how to cover desensitizing the dog. But I feel as if that was very heavily informative and we spoke a lot about exactly what I wanted to speak about. But I think I'm going to have to leave this one here. I believe that was actually a message from her. Let's see. Okay, that was horrible typing. But I think I'm going to end it here. I want to thank you, everybody who came to watch. This is ComixCanines Live Fridays, episode 2. That was with Tracey Hughes from the Bathurst Pet Salon. You will see all the links and everything down. I'm unsure how it actually comes up on Facebook. It was either up here or down there or somewhere on the screen. You can see all the featured links. You'll be able to go and follow Tracey there. This will be on YouTube and Facebook right after. And if you do watch it in the future, feel free, if you can, to shoot some stars across. The stars really do help us keep doing what we love. It keeps helping me make content, save up for the shelter fund, and pretty much just help in general. It's like a donation. Thank you all. I'm going to leave this one here. Live Fridays, episode 2. Grooming. This has been ComixCanines. See you guys.